Palantir, I don't understand it. They're just another software company. They don't really do anything. They're not unique. They suck. We hear this all the time, and that's okay. You got to really understand what Palantir does or get a good understanding of what they're trying to do. And in order to understand what Palantir is and does, you need to try to look into the future. I know what I'm saying sounds absolutely crazy. There was an article that just came out by Seeking Alpha, and they took two things away from Alex Karp when he was speaking at the World Economic Summit. I'm going to read you this article in a moment, but before I read it, just understand Palantir does what Palantir does. They've always been saying this for the longest period of time. We're here for bad times, and they thrive in the bad times, but you don't always get instantaneous results. Sometimes the results take a long time. I'm going to read you this article. After the article, I'm going to give you guys some closing statements, and I want you guys to really listen to what I'm going to say at the end of the video. Palantir stock. Two implications from Alex Karp's talk at the World Economic Forum. This came out literally at 8 a.m. this morning. Implication number one, Palantir will be essential for the U.S. to remain competitive militarily. Today, the United States remains the #1 global military power according to general consensus, and its military might is even more dominant when combined with its lengthy list of military allies in Europe and East Asia, including the likes of major powers such as Great Britain, France, South Korea, and Japan. However, this favorable balance of power relative to near-peer potential adversaries such as Communist China may not last forever. First and foremost, its military spending is being spread thin due to the enormous military obligations across the globe. Despite recently closing hundreds of military bases in Iraq and Afghanistan, the U.S. military still maintains 800 bases in over 70 countries and territories in the homeland. In contrast, China currently has one foreign military base, and it is focusing the vast majority of its military resources on its domestic sphere, particular to the Taiwan strains. Guys, US has the most military bases around the world. China has one. I think Russia has a handful, like a dozen or something like this. And not too many countries are allowed to open up military bases in other people's countries. That's why a lot of people are like, oh, Adam, Ukraine is getting mad money from America. That's true. Or America helped this country and that country. That's true. Guys, America doesn't do anything for the good of the people. It's true, guys. You guys can say whatever you want. America is very strategic. It tries to gain popular opinion, and whatever they're doing is in the best interest of America at the end. At the end of the day, we need bases all around the world. The closer we have bases to our adversaries, the easier it is for America to defend actual American borders. Defense before offense. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So next time you guys criticize how much money America is giving a different country, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, just think about why. They're not doing anything just because. They're doing it to help us in the long run. Because of all this foreign spending on military bases, it says that the U.S. spending is far less efficient than China's in terms of maintaining a competitive edge against the greatest potential foreign adversary. This means that the United States' military superiority over China is largely dependent on the fact that it spends more than twice annually on so-called defense than China and Russia combined. Unfortunately for the United States, this budget gap is very unlikely to be sustained given that China's economy has been significantly growing the United States for some time now and is expected to pass the United States in total GDP by 2030. I don't think that's going to be true at the end. By 2030, China is coming into problems, and I think by far the United States is going to spend more money on military than anybody else, but I understand the point of the article. They're building up what Alex Karp said, but it's very important to understand nothing is going to stop the U.S. from spending the money that they're spending. Nothing. Because the more money they spend in military, the more they get back. That's why they have such a robust GDP. Might is right, and whatever America says goes, because we have such a strong military. You can agree with me, you cannot agree with me, but it is what it is. And now they're getting into the actual reasoning why Palantir exists. With software like Palantir's Gotham, the US military will be able to operate much more efficiently. Not only will Palantir's AI system enable commanders and even senior officials to make better fact-based decisions and devise fact-based strategies more quickly, but it will also enable limited military resources to be allocated more efficiently in a manner that will optimize their effectiveness and get taxpayers greatly greater bang for their buck. Ideally, this will translate to the US needing fewer pieces of military hardware and even fewer overseas military bases in order to have the same effect. It should also enable military units to be more efficient with fewer soldiers, providing further cost savings to the Pentagon. While China pouring resources into the AI-powered military applications, the US will be forced to increasingly do the same. As the leading player in the military applications, the AI field in the US is not the Western world. Palantir stands to benefit. This is largely why Palantir management said on a recent earnings call, and this is what they say. But before I read this, do you remember I made a video around a week ago or so where there was a Chinese university professor and he was comparing what was happening in Ukraine. He was comparing how Ukraine was attacked by Russia and such a small country is able to fight off such a stronger country. And he says there's a third-party US company that's feeding information and logistics to the Ukrainians. I can assume that third-party US country, that third-party US company is Palantir. It just makes sense. And they were saying that they have crazy AI data analytics and wherever else they're applying this AI data analytics. And they're saying that they know the movements, they know when to strike, they know when to defend, they know when to move, how to move, so on and so forth. And that's how they're able to make smaller countries stronger. And this is one of the things that Alex Karp always says, that in today's world, a smaller country with strong defense is enough to do offense against a much larger country. This is part of the earnings call. Our ambition is to be the sixth prime contractor for the U.S. federal government, a trusted partner to deliver complex end-to-end integrated hardware and software solutions building on the legacy of programs that we prime today. But we seek to be the first company to do this as a software prime using software innovation and our unmatched expertise to deliver new integrated hardware software capabilities faster than the pace of conflict. That statement basically was this: we're going to do something that nobody does. We're going to bring you data faster than conflict comes. We're going to analyze what the heck is going on before something happens. That's what that statement said. They said that we want to be the sixth prime of the US government, but the first and only software prime. Right now they have hardware primes. We want to be a software prime. What does that mean? The first company, anytime the military is going to need anything with software, they're going to look for Palantir. Also, America's allies are going to be using Palantir. Right now, the conflict that's happening between Russia and Ukraine, what do you think happens after this? Like seriously, what do you think happens after this? NATO rebuilds, European Union rebuilds, fortifies, so on and so forth. Who's going to be at the forefront of that? Who's going to be controlling what's happening? Who's the foreman? The United States, they're the foreman. Like it or not, that's the truth. The United States is the foreman. And as this foreman, the United States gets to say who's the subcontractors, who are you going to use, who's going to be the sheetrock, who's going to be the painter, who's going to be the plumber, right? And this is how they're going to establish dominance with Palantir in Europe, in NATO, so on and so forth. And you just got to read the articles that are being put out. You just have to watch my channel, the other great YouTubers, the other great Twitter influencers. We all get this information to you guys real time. And by analyzing all of this different information, you could see that Palantir is growing in the European Union and NATO, Germany, Spain, Ukraine, other countries, UK, right? It's only a matter of time until Palantir is there. And now the funny thing is, once you use Palantir, you're not going to go anywhere else. You're not. First of all, it's going to be super hard to leave. Yeah, you ever had an accountant and you hate your accountant, but you're never going to leave? If you have like a really complicated accounting system, like let's say you have 7 businesses, you have 5 pieces of real estate, you have like 14 kids, right? Something that's really difficult for you to leave your accountant. You're never going to leave because it's that difficult. Same thing is going to be with Palantir. Once you use Palantir, even if you don't like them, you're never going to leave because it's very difficult to just leave, right? To leave your federal system, to leave your federal database, to leave your federal military defensive system. Not that you would want to leave, because I heard that the reviews for Palantir is really, really good, especially within the military. Implication number 2, Palantir's true value is always 5 years away from being fully understood. Alex Karp also made an interesting comment at Davos when he stated, "All I care about is where my company is going to be in a few years." What does that mean? Palantir is always thriving to develop something not for today, but for 5 years from now. They also try to understand where the world is going to go, and they're trying to produce answers for not tomorrow's problems, but half a decade away. And if they could do that, when those problems come, they're going to be in prime position to be used. If they can think 5 years ahead, and I know what I'm saying sounds crazy, then by the time there's conflict, by the time there's an issue, by the time there's a problem and Palantir is already solving it, there's going to be zero competition. Why is there zero competition? Because if all the competition is building for today or what's next year, by the time 5 years hit, Palantir is already thinking another 5 years ahead, which means that everyone else is 4 to 5 years behind. The software that's made today barely answers questions of today, let alone next year, and then in 5 years, they're completely obsolete. Technology is growing faster and faster. The AI industry is growing faster and faster. The chips are faster and faster. The computers are faster and faster, and the supporting technology is faster, smaller, and more productive. Palantir is the brain cell that brings all of this together to make you less inefficient and therefore making you that much more efficient. As long as Palantir is needed by the United States military, and as long as there are conflicts, which we have right now, Palantir is poised to blow up. Why? If you don't use Palantir, then you're in trouble. And it's evident that Palantir is starting to be used more and more, not only by our own US military, but by the militaries abroad, all of our allies. And this is definitely going to spill over to the commercial side, because if you're good for our government, then why are you not good for our biggest and baddest businesses? As you saw, I made a video yesterday that Google partners with Palantir. And that's not the first amazing partnership that Palantir has. And if you're thinking 5 years ahead, you're not only thinking 5 years ahead for military, but you're also thinking 5 years ahead for commercial. Once Palantir has this little head start, which they do, that little head start is going to become a medium head start to a very long head start. And if you've ever been in a race, it's nearly impossible to catch up once somebody has a massive head start on you, especially if the person you're trying to catch up is just simply faster and more athletic than you are. And Palantir is that faster, more athletic athlete in the room. Thank you.